Gushin mandats erats erili. Yesterday she wrote a letter. This is lesson 3 with the past tenses in the Georgian language. This lesson is brought to you by kartuliena.eu, the Georgian language universe. In lesson 1 we learned about the subjects, the preverbs, the verb roots, subject markers and prepositions. And we are going to use them today as well. And in lesson 2 we learned about verb objects, the dative, and how to align the adjectives and the pronouns with the verb, and an introduction into the 3 verb classes. So if we take content that we learned in these first lessons, for example the present, I hope you remember how to structure a basic Georgian sentence with the subject, the verb and the object. In the present, the object is usually in the dative, with the often marked with the S. And a sentence in the future is quite similar to the present. The only thing we change here is that we add the preverb to the verb. In this case, gogo dats ers. This also indicates the future. It can also be used in the present, this sentence, to mark some specific kind of writing. So, but dats ers is just usual writing, and so this is a sentence as it is structured for the future tense and here for the present tense. Now today's lesson is about the past tenses, how and which past tenses to use. So we can choose from several tenses in Georgian. We have the imperfect, like in English we would say I was writing, in the past progressive, the aorist, I wrote, perfect, I have written, or pluperfect, I had written, and the perfect subjunctive in Georgian is hardly used anymore in contemporary Georgian, so we just neglect this totally. And I would recommend that as a beginner you start with the imperfect and the aorist, and today's lesson is about these 2 tenses. Let's have a look at the imperfect first. So this tense is used in Georgian when you describe a repetitive action or an action where you want to put an emphasis on the duration, so similar to the past progressive in English. So let's look at a couple of sentences here. So again we take the sentence in the present. Dres mefts erils. I am writing a letter. Or in the future, chval medavts erils. Tomorrow I am going to write a letter. So again you see the structure like we did in lessons 1 and 2. So here is this sentence in the imperfect. Just when we look at the structure, so of course now it's in the time is in the past. Gushin just means yesterday. Subject here me, and erils, you can see the object is just the same as in the present and the future, so we put it in dative. And the verb itself is modified from the present just by adding the letter D and E. So vtserdi means I was writing. For the third person singular, it's adding the A. Is tserda, he was writing or she was writing. And for third person in plural, we add the nen. Isini tserdnen, they were writing. So, and all the other modifiers for the subjective markers are the same as in the present, like shen, tserdi, chven, tserdit, etc. So it's quite not too different from the present, so you don't have to learn a lot in order to be able to express the past by using the imperfect in Georgian. And almost very many Georgian verbs they use this structure, this format, the E, the A, the nen, for the imperfect. So if you just remember this, you will be able to express the imperfect for many Georgian verbs. It is a bit different with different verb classes. For example, in verb class 2, you have to modify the verb differently. And on our website at kartuliena.eu you find more than 400 Georgian verbs with full conjugations, including the imperfect, so you can look up the imperfect for all of these verbs, and they are given for all the persons, first, second, third person, singular, plural, with English translations and German translations, so yeah, that should help you out a lot. So that is how you form the imperfect. Now let's proceed to the aorist. The aorist is used much like the simple past in English. The emphasis here is more on that the action is already finished. So again, we start from the present and the future. First person here. Yesterday I wrote a letter. So yesterday, Gushin. Me, the subject, stays the same. Now we already see that the object is not modified with the S in the dative, so it's in nominative case. And yeah, the verb itself is formed for the aorist by adding the E in this verb. Me davts ere, I wrote. Me davts ere, tserili, I wrote a letter. And quite similarly for the second person, Gushin shen dats ere, so the subjective marker for the first person is dropped. Everything else stays the same. So this is nothing new. Now third person singular looks already a bit different. What happened? The verb itself, das era, so obviously the ending here is a. We just add the a loud. Of course the preverbs are important for the aorist. But here we see that the subject has changed. So it's not is das era, but man das era. This is called the ergative case, and actually also first person, second person, the subjects are in this ergative case, but it's just the same form, written and spoken the same, as we would express the subject in the present and the future, but yeah, we have to remember to use man instead of is. First and second person plural is the same for the subject. So das eret, not surprising when we look at the first person singular, so we just have to remember that we have to add the e here. So, but the subject is the same and the object is in nominative, so no problem. And now again, third person plural. We have to remember to use a different word for the subject. So it is not isini, but mat das erist erili, they wrote a letter. So when learning the aorist, you have to be careful to use this ergative for the third person subjects. So again, on cartuliena.eu you find more than 400 pages, more than 400 verbs with complete conjugations, including the aorist. So just go there to check out the aorist formation for each verb. So which one to learn? Of course you have to answer this question for yourself. We can compare both of them by difficulty, abundance, and versatility. And the difficulty of the imperfect is, it's not very difficult. So it's very similar to the present and future. The object is in dative, and you only have to remember that the formation is the modification to the verb is die, da, or dnen. For the class 2 verbs, it's a bit different. You have to add the o before that, but that's also not too much. But that has you covered for the imperfect. The aorist is not so easy. You have to remember to use the ergative. The object is in nominative case. We saw in the verb zer the EAS aorist, but there are several kinds of aorist, so I don't know exactly, but 5, 6 different kinds with some exceptions for some verbs, etc. So this is quite a bit more effort to learn the aorist. So both of them are quite abundant in Georgian, so, and the aorist a bit more. You find it more often, so when you learn the aorist, you can profit more by when you listen to people or when you speak. So you will encounter the aorist more often, but the imperfect also is quite useful to know it. When you know how to use the imperfect in Georgian, you can express the past, same with aorist. But for the imperfect, the imperfect doesn't give you much more, but the aorist does, because if you if you know the aorist, how to express the aorist, then you get the imperfect for the same price, because it's identical in form. Let me give you one example. Shendatz ere erili, you wrote the letter. But if you say Shendatz ere erili, it's the imperative mood. Write the letter. So it's the order to write the letter. And just by the context and by how people are saying, expressing the aorist, you know that they are either just expressing something that happened in the past, or they are giving an order. So if you know the aorist, you know the imperative mood as well. So that's it comes quite in handy. So that was it for today. This lesson was brought to you by kartuliena.eu, the Georgian language universe. If you like, then give it a thumbs up, hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel to be notified when the next video drops. Make sure to check out lessons 1 and 2 if you haven't done so already, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.